Hi, welcome to part 1 of my review featuring Midnight, Legacy of Darkness. This is the third edition of an iconic dark fantasy setting where evil has taken over the world and being good and righteous is considered a sin. This is for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Let's take a look at the quality of the PDF. The quality is superb. Everything is well written, organized, explained. The graphic design looks amazing. The illustrations are dark, disturbing, and even though some of the illustrations look like what you would expect from a classic fantasy setting, there is always a hint, something that indicates that things are not quite right. The table of contents is not hyperlinked, but the bookmarks are some of the best bookmarks that I have seen in a PDF. So overall, I am very impressed with the quality. And if you are planning to purchase the physical book, you obtain a code to download the PDF for free. So keep that in mind. Now let's talk about the contents. In the ageless time before the dawn of history, a war broke out in heaven. In desperation, the Lords of Light severed the infernal spirit of the dark god, Isrador, casting him out of the celestial kingdom. The gods succeeded in vanquishing their brother, but Isrador corrupted their magic and turned their victory against them. As the fallen god's spirit was severed from his physical form, so too was the celestial kingdom severed from all contact with the material realm. The Lords of Light discovered that they could no longer commune with their mortal children. This cataclysm shook the foundations of the world and came to be known as the Sundering. Isrador fell to the earth, his foul essence staining the land with its evil shadow. Weakened and bodiless, he retreated to the ice and cold of the far north. There he slumbered, slowly recovering his strength and dreaming of vengeance across aeons of time. Empires rose and crumbled to dust. Cultures were born, flourished, and died, and Isrador's essence, the shadow in the north, grew deeper and darker. 3 times the malevolent god rose and threatened the nations of Eredain with iron and fire. The first time, he was defeated by a proud host of elves, dwarves, and Dornish warriors, led by Aradil, the Witch Queen. The second time, the forces of good held the shadow off long enough for aid to come from an unlooked-for ally. By the time of his third rising, the free peoples of Eredain were battered, bitter, and distracted by their own infighting, as well as by the insidious corruption sown by Isrador's spies over the years. 4 of the land's greatest heroes fell prey to his malign promises and betrayed their people, leading his hordes from the north. This time, the Dark God won. Broken, the dwarven clans retreated to their holdfasts deep within the earth. The elves withdrew into their vast and ancient forest, abandoning all else to the shadow. The Dorns, tamed by a power from across the sea in the Second Age, were betrayed from within by Isrador's servants and fell swiftly. 100 years have passed since the shadow fell upon Eredain. Among the elder peoples, those of Fey ancestry, those of good heart who have battled Isrador for millennia, are being systematically hunted down and exterminated. The great forest of Erethor has become an island of light in a darkening world, its elven keepers fighting a never-ending battle against Isrador's besieging hordes. The surviving dwarven forces have locked themselves in their mountain holdfasts, and the streets of once proud subterranean cities have become meat grinders for the armies sent in to root them out. The lands of humans are ruled with an iron fist by the minions of the shadow. Cities lie in ruins, and the commoners in isolated towns lock the gates each evening against the horrors of the night. Literacy, magic, and weapons are illegal, and ignorance spreads across the land like a terrible plague. In the world of midnight, evil rules, and the last brave heroes strive against unbeatable odds. The lands of the humans have been crushed under the iron heels of the Night Kings and their minions, and the lands of the Fae are besieged on all sides by the vicious hordes of the Shadow in the north. Those who would resist the dominion of Isrador must often do so from the shadows, fighting a secret war that most people believe was lost 100 years ago. The heroes of Midnight stand against the Shadow's legions with elf warriors in the frozen woods of northern Erethdor. They travel the barren lands of the Dorns and fight a guerrilla war in the shadow of the broken fortress wall. They join with gnome smugglers to carry food and medicines to the besieged dwarven clans of the Caladruns. They ride with Sarkazan outlaws and halfling nomads on the open plains of central Eredane. They elude scheming legates and their magic-sniffing spirit servitors as they search for the priceless artifacts of a lost age. Midnight's heroes fight to defend isolated towns from the ravages of fell beasts and undead, the same towns that shun them as troublemakers and glory seekers. In the world of Midnight, the rewards of heroism are not fortune and fame. In this age of shadow, heroes fight only to guard the last lights in a darkening world and to preserve the glimmer of hope that the long night will pass. This is the legacy of the heroes of Midnight. They have inherited this world and they must survive. As the shadow falls across the world, they are the few brave and defiant souls who dare to oppose the tyranny of the Night Kings. They struggle to stem the tide of darkness and restore hope to a despairing world. Pursued by the Night King's foul minions and the secretive legates of the Order of Shadow, these heroes will never receive parades or victory feasts in reward for their noble efforts. Their greatest foes are often the suspicion, resentment, and fear of the very people they strive to champion and protect. You must keep in mind that this is a mature campaign setting. There are themes of war, oppression, murder, torture, child abuse, and slavery. There is a chapter telling you how to modify these themes according to the preferences of your group. But overall, this is a very bleak and dark setting, one of the darkest out there. In my opinion, it's better to run it as hardcore as possible. That way, there will always be problems in the game world, problems that the player characters can solve. Thank you for watching this part of the review. In the next part, we are going to talk about the world as it was before evil took over. As you can see, this is a very terrifying, potentially sickening setting. Evil has taken complete control. It's as if Sauron from the Lord of the Rings had won, and now the player characters are fighting a losing battle. Is it possible for a small glimmer of hope to actually bring back the light to this world of darkness? It is very difficult to tell, and it is up to the player characters to decide that. Thank you for watching this part of the review. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that have been supporting the channel by sending drive-thru RPG gift certificates. If anyone else wants to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you, and see you later.